Welcome to the deep dive. Today, you've brought something really interesting. It's a Ramadan workbook aimed at kids. It says here 52 fun activities plus checklist.
That's right.
Now, you might just think, oh, okay, another kid's workbook. But honestly, looking through this, it gives some, well, pretty fascinating insights.
hmm
It shows how young kids start learning basic skills, letters, numbers, but also how that gets woven into understanding Ramadan traditions.
Exactly. It's like a little window into early learning, but specifically within that cultural and religious context.
Yeah, and what's really striking too is that the money from this workbook actually goes to help kids who don't have tech for online learning. So it's sort of education funding education.
That's a great point. And, what I find interesting is how this one resource really captures principles of early childhood development, but applies them within this specific Ramadan framework. It's not just like random activities thrown together.
Right.
It seems pretty thoughtfully designed to build those foundational skills while at the same time introducing Ramadan ideas in a way that, young kids can grasp.
Okay, so let's really dig into what makes this more than just like keeping kids busy. Let's start with the early literacy stuff. I see activities like what's my sound, focusing on phonics, matching pictures to sounds.
Yep.
But it's more than just learning B is for ball, isn't it? It's kind of laying the groundwork for actually reading.
Precisely. And then you look at something like Ramadan Pictionary. It's quite a clever way to introduce new vocabulary, linking it to things the child might already know about Ramadan.
Ah, okay.
So when they see a picture of a mosque and the word mosque, or maybe something related to suhoor,
Kuhur, that's the pre-dawn meal, right?
exactly, that connection is much stronger than just learning a word in isolation. It uses the child's own world to help them learn new language.
That makes total sense. Context is key, really. And it's not just nouns either. I saw Pick the Blend working on combinations like D, R, and R. That shows they understand that learning to read involves more than just single letters.
Exactly. It's moving towards more complex phonological awareness. That's super important for reading smoothly later on. And then you've got what is my opposite, using pictures to teach antonyms.
Mm.
That's not just vocabulary. It's also helping them understand relationships between concepts.
And the variety probably keeps it interesting, too. Then there's odd letter, which sharpens, visual skills, telling things apart, and alphabetical order,
Basic sequencing, yeah.
basic fundamental stuff. Then even something small like the AAN activity, focusing on articles, like a violin versus an orange. Simple, but you need it.
Well, it's interesting they include grammar this early. It
Yeah.
subtly reinforces how language is structured.
Yeah.
And then vowel words, filling in missing vowels like in pan or web, that really focuses on those core sounds. It seems like a pretty systematic way to build literacy.
Definitely. And it leads up to compound words, showing how you can stick words together, like bedtime or haircut. It's expanding how they think about words, but in a really accessible way. It's all about building blocks, isn't it?
Absolutely. It's a logical path from sounds to words to structure. Now, shifting gears a bit, the workbook also gets into understanding nouns with types of noun.
Ah, yes. Person, place, or thing.
Right. Categorizing images like that. It's a basic grammar concept, but using pictures makes it much more concrete, less abstract.
Yeah, makes grammar less scary. And then, very naturally, it folds in the Ramadan-specific learning. That who must fast activity is actually quite nuanced.
How so?
Well, it uses pictures to show exceptions, people traveling or sick, pregnant, elderly.
Yeah,
It's not just presented as a strict, rigid rule.
that's a really key point. It introduces compassion and understanding right alongside the religious practice. It acknowledges different situations. Then you have the pillars of Islam activity.
The tracing one.
Yeah, tracing the 5 pillars, zakat, salah, Psalm, Hajj, Shahada. It gives them a tactile way to engage with these really core ideas in Islam.
Making it hands-on like that definitely helps it stick, I think. Creates more of an impression. And Ramadan Scramble looks fun.
Oh, yeah.
Unscrambling words like fasting, Quran, charity, makes them think about the words differently.
It combines remembering the word with a bit of problem solving. That's a good mental workout. And the good or bad activity is particularly interesting.
How does that one work?
It gives scenarios like pray, watch TV all day, help the poor, use bad words, and ask the child to judge. It encourages them to think about the values and behaviors that go along with Ramadan.
So it's pushing beyond just the not eating and drinking part. It's about encouraging good actions and avoiding negative ones.
Exactly.
Then the Ramadan giving activity links to that. Having them pick out items suitable for charity during Ramadan puts the idea of charity into a very real context.
Precisely. It connects the abstract idea with, concrete actions. Now, let's look at the numeracy side. The workbook starts simply with count me and count and connect.
Right, just counting and matching numbers to small groups of objects, like up to 5. Establishing that basic one-to-one counting.
Those early number sense skills are just so crucial. And then Let's Circle activity takes it a small step further, asking them to circle, say, 8 pencils or 3 carrots, moving into slightly bigger numbers.
Okay.
It builds confidence and reinforces recognizing the numbers visually. The numbers activity then goes a bit deeper into each number from 1 to 9. They circle the number, trace it, color the right number of circles.
Ah, a multi-sensory approach.
Yeah, engaging different senses can really help cement those concepts for young kids. And the dice game,
Oh, I saw that.
introducing basic addition using dice patterns, makes early math seem more like a game, more visual.
Yeah, definitely more fun than just sums on a page.
It's a playful way to start understanding how numbers combine, moving past just rote counting. Then ordinal number.
First, second, third.
Right, identifying position in a sequence. It's important in lots of areas, not just math.
Absolutely. And finally, in the numeracy section, one, few, many, that helps develop just an intuitive feel for quantity without needing to count exactly, understanding relative amounts. So yeah, it's a really thorough approach to those foundational math skills.
It is. But the workbook covers even more ground, touching on other essential concepts too, like I know the vowels, more practice tracing uppercase and lowercase vowels, really hammering home that core literacy bit.
And then places in town, coloring a school, hospital, helps build their understanding of their community, right? Different places, different roles.
Definitely. And similarly, animal tracing isn't just about recognizing animals, it's also developing those fine motor skills needed for writing.
Ah, good point. Those fine motor skills are fundamental. And activities like same or different and big or small.
Yeah, visual discrimination.
Right, comparing things visually, that's important for reading and math and just general thinking skills. And then there's a whole section, tracing skills, just for practicing the alphabet A to Z, crucial pre-writing stuff.
Totally. Even something that looks really simple, like my hand, where they trace their own hand,
Yeah.
that builds body awareness and further refines those motor skills. And objects by weight, comparing lighter and heavier things, introduces early ideas about measurement in a really tangible way.
Introducing science concepts like weight so simply seems quite effective. And the coloring activities, decorate Kareem and temple decorate, they're fun, sure, but also help with color recognition and more motor control.
The inclusion of a temple is interesting. Maybe it's meant generally, like a place of worship, or perhaps just focusing on the artistic side, the structure itself.
That's a thought. Could be about the general idea or just appreciating different kinds of beautiful buildings. Then we have long, longer, longest, comparing lengths, another basic concept for understanding the world. And what do plants need? Basic biology, identifying sun and water.
These activities encourage looking closely, observing, and basic scientific thinking. Classify and count, then pulls together sorting and counting, hitting both numeracy and categorization skills again.
Okay.
And then it moves into natural phenomena, phases of the moon, day and night, showing these cycles visually.
Helping them understand the world around them, yeah. Basic science concepts are so important. All about shapes, reinforces geometry, and mood match.
Oh, connecting colors to feelings.
Yeah. Happy, sad, tired, silly. That brings in emotional literacy that seems really valuable for little kids.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Recognizing and understanding emotions is such a key part of social emotional growth. Members of the family then builds vocabulary about family structures and seasons of the year,
Observing nature again.
right? Understanding seasonal changes.
And the verb match activity connecting action words like clap or read to pictures expands their vocabulary and how language functions. Animal food matching introduces basic ecology, and then living things and non-living things.
Fundamental biology, yeah. Basic sorting of the world.
Providing that basic understanding of nature is crucial. And the Islamic prayer mat coloring activity, that specifically brings in a cultural item, even suggesting primary and secondary colors, so linking art and culture.
Right. And finally, day activities and night activities
Mhm.
reinforce daily routines.
You know, what's also a really thoughtful touch is the My checklist after each activity.
The self-assessment part.
Yeah, it asks what I have learned,
Yeah.
and it has a space for a score. It encourages them to think about their own learning, even at this
The
age.
metacognition, right.
That element of self-reflection is incredibly valuable. It helps kids become, active participants in their learning process. And the certificate of achievement at the end,
It provides that nice sense of accomplishment.
exactly, positive reinforcement for finishing the whole workbook.
So when you step back and look at this whole Ramadan workbook,
Yeah.
it really is much more than just, a bunch of activities. It feels like a carefully put together tool,
Yeah.
integrating those fundamental early learning skills with an introduction to the core ideas and values of Ramadan. What's particularly insightful, I think, is how seamlessly it blends the two. It doesn't treat learning skills and learning about Ramadan as separate things. It uses the context of Ramadan to make the learning feel more relevant, more engaging, especially for young Muslim kids. It's actually a great example of culturally responsive teaching in practice.
It really makes you appreciate the potential in everyday learning materials. This seemingly simple workbook gives us a fascinating peek into how cultural traditions get passed on and how basic skills are taught in a context that means something to the learner.
It definitely raises a bigger question for us to think about, doesn't it? What other ordinary educational materials, things
Yeah.
we see all the time, might actually hold really valuable insights into learning and cultural transmission if we just, took the time to look closely?
That's a fantastic thought to end on. Thanks for taking this deep dive into the Ramadan workbook with